Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are watching Black Thought, and I'm your host, Dr. Hutchinson. You are watching us on the M1 Network, emanating from Basement, the studios of the M1 Network here in Memphis, Tennessee. Glad that you're watching us. Thank you for your patronage, and just want to give shout out to Memphis in general. Thank you for how you are supporting us in what we're trying to do. If you're trying to figure out who I am, trying to know what I'm doing, trying to get a better handle on me, simply go to my website, noelhutchinson.com, 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 spelled NOELHUTCHINSON.com. All right, enough about me. Today's show is going to be, I guess, an abbreviated version, but I do have something very tangible that I want to discuss with you on this day. First of all, I am on another format, and not television but radio in the city, and the show's name is Huddle Talk with Dr. Hutch. Some of you are saying, well, how can you do that? Because my name is Noel Hutchinson. That's how I can. No, let me. Those of you who know me know that that's really not me, but I've been graced to be able to do that. I've talked to the persons here on the M1 Network, gave me their blessing, talked to the persons at 88.5 SCS who asked me to come on, and I've been blessed by both associations. So I want to bring to you in this format what I kind of had conversation about in that format last week. Last week, on the 1st, was the anniversary of Marvin Gaye's death. He died one day short of his 45th birthday, which would have been April the 2nd. Matter of fact, I remember when he passed away, many of us thought it was an April Fool's prank, because we couldn't conceive that Marvin Gaye had left us, but indeed he did. Now let me describe the scenario and kind of put the dots together. Marvin Gaye, at his parents' home, he and his father didn't really get along. Many accounts say that the father was jealous of him, and so they got into it, and Gaye Sr. walked into the room where Marvin Gaye was and allegedly pulled the trigger and killed his son. So father kills son. Father, Marvin Sr., shoots and kills son, Marvin Jr. So the United States Postal Service shaped a stamp to commemorate Marvin Gaye that came out, I believe, on the 1st of April to remember his legacy. Now, for those of you who don't know who Marvin Gaye is, or this was way before your time, Google is your best friend, but let me just say this. He was definitely a musical icon, and his stature has not diminished after all these years. So now, let's fast forward to South Central Los Angeles about a week ago. A young man known by the moniker of Nipsey Hussle, murdered by someone who allegedly was a close friend. Now, of course, there's going to be a trial. I believe he pleaded not guilty since then. I believe that Chris Darden is his attorney, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, let's get down to the lowest common denominator. This alleged perpetrator was a friend. He had a disagreement with Mr. Hussle. He left his store, and if you look at the videotape that is publicly available, courtesy of YouTube, in a place near you, there are two versions, one that's a little more far away, and one that in essence is the same version but is more close up. Nipsey Hussle and some comrades left the store that he owned perpetrators, could have been the one that's arrested, maybe not, came upon him, shot him, and while he was lying on the ground, stood over him, shot him again, kicked him in the head, then ran away. So now we have several scenarios, and this is why I'm bringing this up in this space. First of all, it's not about whether you knew who Nipsey Hussle was, because some people have tried to minimalize the incident, saying didn't know him, so he must not matter. Well, there's a whole lot of people in this big world that matter that you and I may not know. So be clear on that. Secondly, for those of you who are my age and a little older, a lot of your children and grandchildren knew who he was and grieved him mightily. They're still in grief. And I'm going to say this for me, I knew him in terms of his community work. Didn't really know about his rapping. I knew he did that. But I applauded him more for his community work and how he invested in the same community in which he grew up and how he used the tool of music to get the money to invest in his community. So that's the main thing. I think he sold his mixtapes for either $100 or $1,000 a piece. He was able to generate enough money to put the down payment on the shopping center that he owned where he lost his life. So that's the bottom line. But the second piece is, so often, jealousy and the crabs in the barrel mentality help the shipwreck forward motion. Now I recognize that the Marvin Gaye piece is a little bit more complex than I painted it, but the bottom line is the father was jealous of the son. The father was also abusive toward the son. And so because that was never dealt with, it germinated to the place where the father took the son's life. In Nipsey Hussle's case, the person that allegedly shot him may have been jealous of him and may have had misplaced anger, didn't know how to deal with it, went, got a gun, came back, and quote unquote thought he was handling his business. But see, what I want you to see is that this type of behavior happens in our community all the time. That's what the drive-by shooting's about. That's what stabbing our friends in the back when we think that they're getting ahead of us in life is about. There's a whole host of things connected to how these events took place that we need to take a look at. Mental health, we need to take a look at that. Conflict resolution, we need to take a look at that. And so all of these things crisscross in these examples. And see, the reality is there's a lot of Nipsey Hussles in our community. Some are known, some are not so known. We have several here in Memphis that people, the grassroots people know, but they're not widely broadcasted in the common sphere. But when something happens to them, you see that the whole community must pause and reflect upon whose life was lost. But a lot of this stuff is senseless, and a lot of it is preventable. If we would just do one thing, do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Now, I recognize that in this callous, low self-esteem era, that there are persons that because they don't value their own life, value your life even less. That's what enables them to get angry and pull a trigger without thinking about the consequences, both to themselves and to the persons and communities whom they murder. They don't think about it. And so this ought to be a reality check. That some of the jealousy you have towards others, you need to leave it alone. Some of the animosity you have towards others, you ought to leave it alone, because in your selfishness of just thinking about how you feel about someone, you can destroy the work of a whole community. just because all you're about is you. I'm going to close with a biblical example. And yes, I know this is not Sunday morning for some of you, but this would be instructive. Don't remember the specific reference, but when I cite the story, many of you will know it. There was a man named Nabal who was a rich man. And David, he wasn't king yet, but he was running away from Saul, who was trying to take his life, came upon the lands of Nabal, and he was very respectful. He sent a messenger to Nabal saying, "Kind sir, is it all right for us to A, cross through your lands, and then B, perhaps just get some light refreshment and be on our way?" Now understand the culture of that time. People expected hospitality. So if a stranger came to your area, it was nothing for you to provide water for their herds, water for their men, maybe some light refreshment, and give them safe passage so that they could go on their way. So this was not a presumptuous request. This was more of a request of, yes, we're at the foot of your gate. Yes, we come in peace. Can you just give us the customary hospitality and we'll be on your way and out of your hair? But Nabal, and his name translates from the Hebrew as fool, pretty much said to David, "Who are you? Even though this is, unrestricted, I won't use the language that Nabal probably used toward David." He said basically, "Who the so-and-so are you? And why are you around my so-and-so land? I'm not giving you so-and-so's nothing. Leave me alone." Message got back to David. David was ready to handle his business. David said, "I've never been so insulted. Fellas, let's strap up and let's handle this piece of business." They were getting ready to obliterate Nabal, because even though Nabal was rich, Nabal didn't have the firepower that David had. David's men were fully strapped and were getting ready to annihilate Nabal. But Nabal's wife heard about it and quickly got to David and de-escalated the situation. She said, "Number one, my husband spoke out of turn. So please forgive him and forgive us. Number two, don't kill us because of what that fool said. Number three, here are some of the refreshment, the basic refreshment that you asked for." And the Bible tells us when Nabal heard about it, he, I guess in his rage, he had a stroke or a heart attack and died. What is my point? First of all, don't be Nabal. Don't let your, I'll use the modern vernacular, don't let your hateration get in the way of common sense. That's number one. Number two, we need more persons like Abigail, that was Nabal's wife, that can intervene in the situation and that can de-escalate things. We ought to major at this point in de-escalation. There's too much at stake. We don't have enough energy to continue to put bodies in the ground. Think about some of the people who are in the ground right now because of stupid beef. I go back probably about 20 years or a little bit longer to this East Coast, West Coast beef. First of all, it was a manufactured beef. It really didn't exist. But it kept getting hyped up to the point that two of our most iconic rappers, Tupac and Biggie, are in the grave. And we still don't know definitively, notice my language, we kind of know who killed them. We kind of know who contracted for them to be killed. But we don't know with a surety. who did it. And both of them were killed in crowded situations with plenty of witnesses, all because of a manufactured beef over stuff that really in the essence of things didn't matter. We have some heavy lifting ahead as a people. We have communities that are in shambles. We have a needle economically that has barely moved an inch in 50 years. We have home ownership amongst us decreasing. We have all kinds of monetary challenges. And even the best of us who may be doing well are not that far from being the worst of us who are not doing well. We have a lot of challenges. And in the midst of all of those challenges, why would we get caught up in unnecessary beef and unnecessary action? I just gave you the example of two persons. Marvin Gaye, who was a musical genius, is not with us today. He would have been 80 years old this year. He's not with us because of foolishness. His career was just after the doldrums and after substance abuse and other things he went through, perhaps tied to his childhood, was finally coming out of it and was getting ready to turn the corner. He came out with the album Sexual Healing. It started taking off. And then on April Fool's Day, I believe it was 1984, we heard that he had been shot and killed. And Nipsey Hussle, I can't remember if he won a Grammy or was nominated for one. I think he was nominated for one. He was on the upswing. And now his life is gone over foolishness. Now, I know some of you are saying it's a conspiracy. Some of you are saying somebody probably got to the brother. I don't, for the brother to do that to him, I don't know if that's true or not. I won't speculate. I won't waste time speculating. And they said it was tied to Dr. Sebi, but the truth is, anyone could probably do a documentary at this point on Dr. Sebi, and I hear rumors that that's going to happen. And Dr. Sebi is a symbol of the type of holistic health and mindset that are also in our community that were practiced by our parents, grandparents, that go past slavery to the motherland. So I won't even get caught up on whether he was a real doctor or not, et cetera, because the bottom line is you have thousands, if not millions of people who, without the quote-unquote doctor in their lives, have learned to take care of themselves with herbs and other tonics that work. So we won't dispute that either. But the bottom line is Nipsey Hussle's not here because of foolishness. When is it going to stop? When are we going to realize that this doesn't work? When are we going to stop hating on each other? And yeah, I get it. Some are saying that we ask things of our race and of ourselves that others don't ask of themselves. But you got to understand, our situation is critical. Theirs is not as critical. It's like this. You're on a boat and there's a hole in the floor, in the bottom. And you're in the middle of the lake and the lake is deep. And most of y'all on the boat can't swim. Is the most important thing at that time to fuss about who's more popular, who's smarter, who has more money? Or is the most important thing to figure out how the heck to plug the hole in the boat so y'all don't sink? What's more important? And see, while we're worried about what's happening in Chicago with Jussie and what Cardi B confessed to doing and all that, that stuff has nothing to do with your life. Nothing. But us killing people that are trying to uplift our community has a lot to do with your life. So what are you going to do? You going to let the water bubble up in the hole and drown? Or are you going to handle your business? Time for me to go. As I go, brother, man, sister, woman, young boy, young girl, put your mind in gear and put your thinking cap on. Oh, please. Peace.
Hi, I'm Deidre Malone, the host of Dialogue with Deidre. You can find us on the M1 TV network on YouTube. Subscribe and follow us. You can also find us on Facebook at M1 TV Network, Twitter, M1 TV Network 2, and Instagram, M1 TV Network 2. Please follow us so you can keep up to date with what's going on the M1 TV Network with Dialogue with Deidre and Black Thought.